Hello and welcome to episode 135 of Trek Live. Dan and I are joined this week by a special guest as we tackled the original series season 2 in the form of an episode fantasy draft. This is the third of these that we've done. We're really excited to do this one. Dan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. I'm just coming off a TOS rewatch, so I feel like I'm the most prepared here, but we will see. Excited to talk some Trek this morning.
Me too. Our special guest this week is Jim Moorhouse, who is probably better known as Enterprise Extra, the host of Trek Ranks, the Trek Ranks podcast. We are a big fan. We love Jim. We're thrilled to have him here. How are you doing this morning, Jim?
I'm doing great. Love you guys too. I have my new Picard phaser prop ready to go in case things get out of control.
So jealous.
I am ready. I'm excited about what you guys have been doing with these drafts. I love it.
So we can expect to be stunned if we take cat's paw or.
Yes, that would be.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait.
Not tipping my hand on any picks.
Good. Yeah, we love this topic. We love the episode fantasy draft idea. We kind of spawned this from an episode of Legacy Trek that was done a few months back with crew members, and we did our own version of that too. But then we got to thinking about how we could take that sort of rough concept and do something a little different with it, and we stumbled into this, taking a season at a time and taking the fantasy draft approach to looking at these episodes. And we really like it. I think it's a really cool way to add a little competitive edge to it, and to just take a different approach to looking at the episodes that speak to each of us, whoever's on board doing it with us that week. It's a little different than just naming off favorites or doing a top 5 or a top 10 list. There's a little different vibe to it. And I know, Jim, you've tuned into the first couple that we did. We did TNG Season 3, and we did Voyager Season 5 with Rob, Trekkie Rob from Twitter.
Yep.
And the Trek Book Club. We really appreciated your feedback, and you seemed excited to take part, so we're really thrilled to have you here to do TOS Season 2. Yeah.
It combines two of my favorite things. Obviously Star Trek, and then nothing more fun than a football fantasy draft. So this is awesome. Really good idea. And I was on that Legacy Trek character one, which was fun. Mm-hmm. And I am thinking about maybe trying to steal this for Trek Ranks too.
Well, we would be honored to be mimicked, as I know Legacy Trek has been with the continued use of the idea. So that would be great. Yeah, big fans of the fantasy draft concept, and we're getting excited to take this one on. So I think we should just jump right into it, and
do it.
Go right to it. I'm going to throw up the draft board. If you're watching us on Periscope now or on Twitter now, you're going to be able to see it on your screen. This will also be going up on YouTube in a few days as a recording, and it'll also be viewable there. So what you're going to see is a list of the episodes, and there's going to be a stripe for Jim, Dan, and myself that we'll throw up on the screen as well as the picks get made. So you can kind of visualize who has what as we go through this. And at the end, we'll compare our rosters and look at the episodes that don't get picked. And, of course, we'll talk about each episode as we go and talk about why we're picking what we're picking and get each other's thoughts on each episode as we go. So looking forward to it. I went live earlier in the week to real quick talk about TNG Season 3, which I just finished watching, and I did randomize this draft order on that quick little live stream, and it came out with Jim with the number 1 pick, Dan is the number 2 pick, and myself is the number 3 pick. And so we're going to go in that order, and I'm going to put Jim on the clock with the number 1 pick.
Okay, well, I did have to think about this one. There's a couple of prime candidates for the first round pick. In the end, I have to go with the masterpiece That is episode 6, The Doomsday Machine. Is the first pick off the board.
Wow.
Yes. I won't tell you the other ones I was considering, because hopefully I'll get one of them on the back end. But this for me is one of my most rewatchable episodes. Watch it over and over again. And to be clear, all my picks will be based on Desert Island Disc. I end up 6 episodes is the only episodes I can watch for the rest of my life. So. Doomsday Machine.
Okay. Doomsday, for my money, Doomsday Machine would have been very much in the running, in the conversation. So I certainly can't argue with it. It's one of my favorites, and I completely agree with you. I think it's easily one of the most rewatchable. It's got it all. I love the fact that it kind of highlights each of the main 4, really, even including Scotty, Kirk, McCoy, Spock, all have great things to do. They're all really well used. And Scotty's got some of his most heroic stuff in it, too. And it's got a great guest star with Commodore Decker, along with the obvious great action-adventure space battle stuff, too. What do you think of the Doomsday Machine, Dan?
Mm-hmm. I love that episode. I didn't expect that to go first, but
cool.
I love that episode. It's a great, well-rounded episode. Got everything, like you guys said. So, yeah.
That means you have your number 1 pick available.
That does mean I have my number 1 pick, which is episode 15 is The Trouble with Triples. This, along with the Doomsday Machine, I think is such a well-rounded episode. It's got some great comedic moments, but it's got some action-adventure stuff in it, too. I couldn't leave it off the board here. So, going with Trouble with Triples, episode 15 for my first pick.
Love the Trouble with Triples.
Brilliant pick.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's, I think you can make a case that it might be Star Trek's best comedy. I think it's witty. It's got an ecological angle. It's got something to say. It's got it all. I think Shatner's really, really good in it. Really charming. Really funny. Good guest stars. Cool Federation political stuff. It's got it all. It's in the upper echelon for me, and not surprised to see it go quick. What do you think, Jim? Where's the Trouble with Triples on your on the ranks?
Oh, it's top 10 for sure, and I'm pretty sure I did make a case for it on Trek Ranks episode 4, top 5 comedy episodes. I'm pretty sure I picked it as my number 1 comedy.
Yeah,
I love the Trouble with Triples, so there was no doubt in my mind it was going to be a first round pick. Now I am fascinated because there's a couple on the board here.
What's next?
See what
I know what's next. Actually,
what Bill is going to do.
Yeah, for me, it's if I had the number 1 pick, my choice is still sitting there, and it's a mock time. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yep.
A mock time is one of those that every time I watch it, no matter how many times I've seen it, it just continues to blow me away. I've mentioned before, I think I remember you doing an episode, Jim, of Trek Ranks, favorite scenes in the turbo lift, and my mind immediately goes to Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the turbo lift, and Spock asking Kirk and McCoy to go down to Vulcan with him to go to the ceremony. And McCoy's reaction to that is like the instant thing that pops into my mind. That's like, to me, that's absolute top.
It's a great scene.
And it's just unbelievable Star Trek, and definitely in my top 5, I would say, TOS episodes overall, along with the Doomsday Machine, and I could make a case for the Trouble with Triples too. So all 3 of the episodes that went first here are right near the top of my list and would all be in the conversation for the first round pick. But I'm thrilled to have the 3rd pick and still get a mock time. That, like I said, I would have taken it first if I could have.
So I look at these 3. These are definitely the 3 picks that I thought would go in the first round. Having said that, I still think there's like probably 6 episodes overall that if they had gone in the first round, I wouldn't have been shocked. These are the top 3 for me. So you guys are doing well so far.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
I appreciate it. We'll see. The first round, the second round is typically, I think, as we've gone through this, somewhat predictable. The episodes that go tend to be the ones that you kind of come into with thinking are going to go early, and then once you get into the mid rounds, late rounds, it gets more surprising. So we'll see how that goes here. Round 2, Jim, you're back on the clock.
Round 2. Yep.
Okay. This is tough. This is tough because now you're starting to get into the machinations of a draft and figuring out a little bit about what somebody else might like or want or take. So, with that in mind, I am going to go with. I'm going to move down my board a little bit and go to Journey to Babel.
Wow.
All right.
Nice pick.
With, the 15th episode of the season. I mean, when you talk about trifecta, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, this is all have so much to do in this one. It's an all-time classic. I love the world building of this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's up so much in later seasons. Couldn't get a muck time, so I'm going with Journey to Babel. Add to it.
Do you think Journey to Babel is enhanced, and do you think maybe you take it earlier now than maybe you would have 4 years ago because of the existence of Discovery and the way that Discovery kind of gives people some new things to think about and chew on while they're watching Journey to Babel for the first time?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do. It's definitely enhanced by seeing so much of Eric and Discovery and those relationships, and Amanda.
Yeah.
I might have still taken it, but I think this is one of those ones where I'm looking at a draft board and now I'm trying to think about what you guys are going to. I'm getting Journey to Babel now and see if I can get something that I may have had ahead of it in the next round. We shall see.
Okay. All right. That's half the fun of this, is that you have to kind of anticipate
exactly
what other people might do, and that's going to definitely inform your decisions. You might have to jump on something that might be higher on the overall consensus. If you figure somebody else might grab it.
Here comes where Dan shakes up the board with the deadly.
Good. What do you think of Journey to Babel first, Dan, and then go right into your round 2 pick?
It's one of my favorite episodes. I was hoping that it might have slid down a little bit, but I'm not surprised. It's a great episode. There's some great whodunit stuff in there. Yeah, and then just adding to the layers from Discovery, I love that. So, great pick.
I remember you talking about how much you loved Journey to Babel when you were rewatching recently. So
yeah,
I figured that would you might have taken his choice, Jim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
what he gets now. I'm excited.
Yeah, for my next pick, this episode kind of surprised me, and I think it might be able to slide down. Maybe, but I'm gonna just take it right now, just because it was one of my favorites. And when I hit it on my rewatch, it really surprised me of how much I like it. This is could be classified as maybe another comedy episode, but I'm gonna go episode 17, A Piece of the Action. I think it's a fun, away mission episode where we go to this kind of similar to Earth type of deal, but it's got some fun comedic stuff in it as well, that I just love. So, and to see them play gangsters and stuff like that and drive the car, there's such some great moments that I can't pass up.
I'm gonna put the bag on you for that.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I love it.
Leaning heavily into the comedy. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, comedy early.
Yeah, what do you think, Jim?
I was really hoping it would slip to the third round. It's definitely one of the ones I was tagging. So it sounds like if I had taken it, you would have taken Journey to Babel. So it mattered.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. There's another episode still on the board that I was kind of debating on picking, but I'm not really hot on that type of concept / we'll just see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my second round pick, it's staring me right in the face, and I got to do it. I'll go with Mirror Mirror. I think it's the last.
That's the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the last, in my mind, like straight A grade, like complete classic, like top tier episode left. So I have a hard time walking away from it. I love Mirror Mirror. We've talked a lot about the Mirror universe as a whole, and I think some shows have done better with it than others, and you can make a case. Some people might make the case that it might be a little bit overused, and although I think Discovery killed it with the way it brought it back into the fold. I love the original concept, though. There's great stuff. I think of the scene at the end, obviously, with Kirk and Spock. One man can change the future. That's great stuff. I love Spock mind melding with McCoy in sickbay. That's like an iconic image. That's like pasted into my head forever. That's a classic moment. There's tons of great stuff in it. I love the way it's shot. I love the production design of it. The subtle changes to the ship, the different captain's chair. There's so much little cool minutia in it, in addition to the obvious big, science fiction concept of the Mirror Universe.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you just said is spot on. It's exactly right. That you talk about world building, man. This one's just incredible that they had this kind of concept in the second season. Kind of big game changer. It's funny that the only place that was really overused is everybody's favorite series, Space Nine. I think all the other Mirror uses are
pretty good.
Are great. Yeah, so for me, the top six, the board is absolutely playing the way I would have drawn it up, if the other teams in this league were smart. So apparently, gotta talk some smack on the draft. Come on. Oh yeah, it's definitely those are the top six that I had. So we are on cue.
We're on cue, and I think we're getting into the population of episodes that is a little bit less predictable. I think we're getting into a big group of episodes that your mileage may vary. I think there are some in here that have big fans, and there are going to be people in here, the three of us, that I think can really advocate for some of the episodes left. But I think what's left is not necessarily a group of episodes that is uniformly cited as this is a top 5 episode or a top 10 episode. I think we've kind of worked through those kind of consensus classics. Which is my favorite part of this. I love getting into this part of the draft because it gets unpredictable. So round 3, Jim is on the clock. Where do we go?
It's amazing. This is it's literally clean that now the rest of the episodes it could go any direction. There's no predictability here. I will say though, I think there's a chance that my next 3 picks can get them all. I think there's a chance based on we'll see. We'll see. I do think that the next 3 that I have ranked on my list, we'll see if my strategy works. So one of the most underrated episodes in the original series for me, it is top 20, and for sure it's even better with the remastered version, because what they did with it is really incredible and it stands the test of time. It is the Ultimate Computer.
Nice pick.
Kirk against the Enterprise and the M5 against all those other ships. It's pretty great. So I'm going Ultimate Computer.
I love the Ultimate Computer. I love William Marshall, I believe the actor's name is, playing Richard Daystrom. I think he's really dynamic, really strong guest performance. Like you said, the remastering's one of the best. Really enhances the episode, I think. And that would have been my next pick. So.
Okay. So we're still on track a little bit.
We're on track. From me, I don't know about Dan. What do you think, Dan? Where does the Ultimate Computer kind of fall for you?
I really like that episode just because there's some stuff in it with Kirk that he's kind of a little bit self-conscious about his command, and there's some a little bit pushback to technology here, which I like that they explore that a little bit. But yeah, it's a great episode for sure.
Well, let's see what Captain Dunsel wants to pick for his third round.
Yeah.
This is tough.
This is tough.
I'm looking at the board here. I'll go. I'm gonna try to keep it in keep it in order a little bit. I'm gonna go with episode 11, Friday's Child. I think it's a little bit underrated, especially I keep harkening back to my rewatch, but um, it just really surprised me, and I think I want to say this is a DC episode here, but it was really underrated for me, and it was there, and I think it kind of fits with kind of my run of episodes a little bit, so I'll go with Friday's Child.
And I take back my Captain Dunstable comment because that's the best pick of the draft so far. I really thought I could maybe get
Yeah.
Once again, my draft board is like literally the first 8 picks are my top picks I have listed. So I'm impressed. It's so underrated. The scenics, it's got that campiness, a little bit of that.
It's got some TOS campiness for sure. But I like McCoy in it as well. Yeah.
McCoy's great. The Klingon, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Some really cool location photography too. It's obviously one of the Vasquez Rocks episodes, but
Vasquez Rocks.
I think it gives the episode a whole lot of scale that really makes that planet feel, a little more real than the soundstage episodes. Whenever TOS goes outside, I'm a fan.
Yep.
Yeah, Friday.
You are the Tahir of this draft.
Ouch. Okay, I'm gonna go with, for round 3. It's the episode I actually just tweeted about the other day. Is maybe my favorite episode that I don't see often cited as an all-time classic, with Return to Tomorrow, with Sargon and Henoch. And, I think it's a really cool. Star Trek certainly treads on the alien possession kind of story pretty often. That's something that you see kind of throughout all the different shows. But this would be near the top of my list of episodes like that. And I love Nimoy in it. I love his villainous, like, you don't see him do that very often. He gets to play emotional on occasion in episodes like Naked Time and The Side of Paradise, but seeing him really get to be bad and menacing is memorable stuff. Diana Muldaur is really good in it. I've always really liked Return to Tomorrow. What do you guys think?
Henoch. That's a great pick. Definitely moves down the board a little bit for me, but I'm wondering if you could have got it later.
Might have been able
but to. Who knows? Now I'm in that territory where it's like my next pick I think I can get later, so I'm definitely going to skip it. But I love Return to Tomorrow. I mean, risk is our business.
Did I see somebody pick Henoch as a abstract H?
Oh yeah, it's an abstract H. Yeah.
That's funny.
Great.
Awesome. What do you think of Return to Tomorrow, Dan? Do you remember having strong feelings or either way?
Yeah, I just remember when I hit it on my rewatch, it was one of your favorites. No, it's definitely good. It's got some great guest stars. It's a really big sci-fi concept, like you said. But there's also some like emotional punch to it as well.
Yeah.
With the two, there's some love and some romance there. So it's a good episode for sure. Now that I think about it, I wish I'd picked it, but yeah.
Okay.
I like my list.
And Robot lives.
Robot love. Yep.
I mean, Sargon's awesome. Sargon's amazing.
Yeah. Sargon is awesome. Hero.
Okay.
What do you got, Jim? Round 4.
Well, I am 100% skipping what I want to pick. I think I can get it later. And I'm gonna pick this because it gets mocked a little bit, but I think it's a great episode. I love the twist. I love the scope. And I love that it's a nice love the way it ends. It's a good, satisfying revenge story. A little bit. I am going with episode 23. Oh, I'm gonna hold off. I'm changing my pick. That's how bad I am.
You can't.
Okay, I'm not doing it. I'm Kirk's talking to computer to death. It's the change. I'm doing the changeling.
Nomad.
I love Nomad. I love the bottle show nature of it. I love that it's a basically Star Trek the Motion Picture original story. Yeah, Nomad is awesome. I'm doing Nomad. Changeling.
Yeah, the Changeling.
It's tough now.
Changeling is. I love what you said. It's like a classic bottle episode. It is. It's all in the Enterprise. No soundstage. No soundstage planet. No location stuff. It's all Enterprise sets. But it doesn't skimp on the production design stuff with Nomad. Nomad's a great prop and a great memorable character, I guess you could call it. Definitely really good, and it's interesting to watch it with the motion picture kind of in mind too, of course, with a lot of I think we lost Jim. Oh, man.
We did lose Jim. We lost Jim.
We lost Jim.
I'm
sure he'll come right back. But while he's gone, what do you think of here he is. He's coming back. He's trying.
Reestablishing connection.
I think I'm back.
You're back.
I think I'm back.
You're back. No image, no camera on, but we can hear you, which is good.
I'll get it fixed.
Cool. Dan, what do you think of the Changeling? Real quick, we were praising your selection while you were.
It's a great pick. Yeah. I really like. Again, this is another classic kind of TOS, kind of sci-fi concept. I like it. They do stay simple with kind of the set and stuff. Obviously, probably because of budgetary reasons, but that's fine with me. I like the ship, just the way it is. So, yeah, great pick.
That's one of the things I like about it is how much you see of the ship, and
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Great pick. What do you think, Dan? Round 4.
Round 4. Getting down to the nitty gritty here. There's some tough cuts here. I'm gonna go with episode. No, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go episode 19. A Private Little War.
Okay.
I like to get off the ship here. There's some cool guest stars in it. There's some callbacks to Kirk's past a little bit here. Kind of fun action adventure type deal. Jailbreak stuff. It's fun. So this is a fun episode, but it's also got some morality in it as well, that TOS can play on from time to time. So had to go with A Private Little War.
That's a great pick. It's definitely in my target areas for one of my final 2 picks. So
yeah, A Private Little War always kind of. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Magato plus Magato.
You got a lot of
Yeah.
Magato kind of gets lost with the Gorn, kind of always taking the cake with the creature stuff. But no disrespect to the Magato. A Private Little War always surprises me for it's got to be one of the busiest episodes. There's so much happening in it. You got Kirk's backstory with his time on the planet and his relationship with people on the planet. You got the Klingons. You got Spock on the Enterprise with Dr. Mbega. There's just a lot of stuff happening in it. It's got to be one of the more jam-packed, just Star Trek stuff happening all at once, with different storylines. But it works really well, I think, for given how busy it is and how much it's juggling. I think it kind of comes together better than you might expect. So I'm a fan. I love the
Canoe 2 woman.
And the Canoe 2 woman, yes, of course. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it for sure. But I also love that I love when TOS kind of ends on a sour note, when there's like a bittersweet taste left in your mouth at the end. I know like Charlie X even. I'm higher on Charlie X as a TOS episode because of the ending.
Oh, yeah.
I love the kind of mellow, no victory ending, and A Private Little War definitely fits that bill, I think, as well. So I'm a fan of the pick.
I was gonna say it's rare, but that's a good example. Charlie X is another good example.
Yeah.
There's literally, I mean, it's kind of a no ending on this one. It
there's no satisfying. Like people, I think typically they think of TOS endings and they think of the crew standing around the bridge laughing and kind of joking.
Nice little bow to wrap up the show.
But there are examples where it's quite the opposite, and A Private Little War is definitely one of them.
I always remember this episode when I was like 10 years old. I just remember watching Canoe 2 woman scene and my mom walking in and going, "What are you watching? What any better?
What is this?" Yeah, that's it's a heck of a scene for sure. So for me, there's a couple here that there's two that I'm staring right in the face, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with an episode that I know is not one of Jim's personal favorites, but it's kind of up there for me. You know exactly what I'm gonna do, don't you?
I know exactly what you're picking, and it's way down my list. But that doesn't mean I don't like it. I like it, and I respect this pick. It's super cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Metamorphosis. I am firmly in the positive camp on this one. I think it's the best use of that planet soundstage throughout the show. They somehow squeeze a pretty impressive sense of scale out of that set. There are those great wide angle shots of the shuttlecraft like way off into the distance with Cochrane running towards them. And it's like a little minutia little thing, but I love the visual stuff in Metamorphosis. I love the ambassador holding up the dress and seeing Cochrane through the same eyes as the companion at the end. I love that moment. I love the score. I love the kind of sweeping romantic quality of it. It definitely has its own tone and feels like a unique piece. One of my favorite things I always say from, as a Star Trek fan, one of the reasons I love Star Trek so much is that the episodes can be so vastly different from each other, and that it's a Swiss Army knife. It can do any genre, it can do any tone, and I think Metamorphosis is so different than the episodes that kind of surround it. If you look at Journey to Babel and I, Mud and Cat's Paw and Friday's Child, Metamorphosis is such its own thing compared to everything else around it, and it definitely adds to my appreciation for it. But that's just me.
I love everything you said is 100% accurate. It's all those things are amazing about it, and it even tells a story that is perceived, I think, differently now with kind of the relationships and the way that the way the creature responds to Cochrane.
Sure.
Plus, it's that from Cochrane, which is so cool. So yeah, I mean, I know you love this. I love it. My only thing of why I wouldn't pick it is because, and I love slow pacing. I love the methodical nature of some of these TOS episodes, but this one, I would have a tough time having this be one of my only 6 episodes I could ever watch again. I'd be kind of the same thing for 50 minutes. So, but everything you said is accurate. It's awesome.
It's also notable as Scott Mantz is a favorite episode of TOS.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is surprising and cool. What do you think of Metamorphosis, Dan? You're a romantic. You like love stories.
I am a romantic, but I'm not so hot on this episode. Some positives. The Galileo is in this episode.
Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, I really have problems with the pacing in this. The timeline. It feels like they're kind of trying to figure out what to do forever, and yeah. So I'm not so high on this episode, but there are some positives, for sure.
Yeah.
As there are in any episode of Star Trek.
There's also that great force perspective shot of Cochrane.
Yes.
So some special effects too. Early special effects.
Can't believe I only have 2 more picks.
Only 2 more.
Hate this.
We're getting down to the end. So
There's
a lot of episodes there because we're going to leave some unpicked. There's going to be 8 left when we're done here. So there are a lot to choose from, and there's going to be a good batch left when we're finished here. But we're each only going to get 2 more. So slim pickings as far as what we can.
I'm convinced convinced that my number 5 pick would probably still be there in the 6th round, but I cannot risk not getting it because it's one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series. I know that Bill does not rate it. It's number 21 at Trek Ranks. And it is, my 5 words in a hashtag, 500 Quaaludes on addictive fun. It is the Gangsters of Triskelion. I love this episode. I love everything about it. I love Galt. I love the fighting. I love Kirk's speech. It's just love Uhura's prominent role. It's just super fun. This is a classic 50s sci-fi and a fun episode. I can watch it all day long.
Yeah, the Gangsters of Triskelion is definitely one. I remember the first time we had you on, Jim, we did a sort of look at each of our rankings, and we picked episodes that were on like polar opposites of the spectrum for each of us. And I think the Gangsters of Triskelion was the one we talked about for TOS. And I'll be honest, in the years since we've done that, it's grown on me a little bit. I'm maybe a little less harsh on it than I was a year and a half, 2 years ago. I certainly wouldn't call it a favorite. But I love the way you just described it as like an old 1950s throwback, old school science fiction kind of B-movie kind of approach. That's
pulp.
It's pulp. It's pulp. That's perfect. And Galt is awesome. Galt's a great character, really distinctive in his look.
Amazing.
And I don't remember if it was you. I remember somebody talking. I must have heard it on a podcast somewhere talking about that episode. And they talked about you can't even see his feet. Like he almost looks like he's floating across the set. Like he's got this unique way of moving that even it's like, whoa, what's up with this guy? And Kirk's obviously got some iconic Kirk speeches and relationships with people on the planet that are memorable and iconic. So I'm not surprised that you picked it. I know you're a big fan, and you got it at a great value for you because you love it so much. And getting it in the 5th round.
I might have been able to get it in the 6th round, but I could not risk it. I don't know what Dan's up to there.
He is the wild card. He tends to be.
Yeah. The Gamesters. Sorry, real quick. I'm more of a middle of the road guy on that episode, but I really love the production design, like the set design and the costumes and stuff.
It's great.
It's really fun. Like the arena, like it's not a typical, circle. It's kind of got the triangle type deal, and then their collars too. I like that idea. That's kind of fun too. So there's some good stuff in this. Yeah, this is a good value pick, I will say.
I picked the arena floor as one of my top 5 shapes on
perfect
on the Trek Ranks.
Yeah,
very cool.
For my next pick, I'm gonna go with episode 21, Patterns of Force.
Okay.
I really like this episode. It is a very heavy episode, but I do like the ties to kind of what's going on today in today's climate. I think there's some stuff that you can get out of it. There's some morality in there, but there's also kind of an actiony. It's the setup is kind of a typical there's this planet it's just like Earth, So, but yeah, there's some good stuff in it that I like. So
that was the pick I backed out of in round 4. I love Patterns of Force. I think it's underrated. I think people sometimes dismiss it as just the Nazi episode.
Yeah,
it says a lot. It's really clever storytelling. The way they set up John Gill as this kind of fallen hero who thought he was could make intelligent decisions based on
Nazi
some really
ideology.
really bad ideology. It says a lot, and it says a lot about where we are today. It's a great episode. Cannot be dismissed.
Definitely a good value pick, I think, as we're into this, pool of episodes that I think you could kind of go in any direction with. Yeah, I love the idea of I love that John Gill is such like a we never really get to know him. He's out of the picture by the time we get there. He's there, but he's not, functional. But he's an interesting guy to think about. I mean, he's making some obviously questionable decisions, and like you said, it's very apt and interesting to watch through today's lens and see how easy
can you.
Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
But can you imagine? Sorry, just real quick. But can you imagine the development of this script? All right, here we're gonna have Nazis. We're gonna have this parallel Earth.
They're gonna be good Nazis.
They're gonna be.
And here's why.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work, John. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Bill, before you make your fifth pick, my board again the first 12, 13, 14, my top 14 picks are all gone. It's completely blocked. And then there's Metamorphosis way at the bottom.
I love that.
Dan,
I'm honored.
Dan and I are on the same page.
Very cool. That makes me happy. There's one sitting here staring me in the face as like, I can't believe it's still here. Clear cut. This is an easy call for me. I'm going to go with episode 22 by any other name. I think this is one that, I've always liked, but it actually manages to grow on me with every rewatch. It seems it's kind of like the Changeling. It's pretty much a bottle episode in the very, very beginning. The first act, you're on that planet, but for the majority of the episode, you're pretty solely on the Enterprise, with our core characters each having something to do and have their own approach to trying to get out of this situation. I love the Scotty stuff in it. I like the big picture idea of the Kelvans, coming from outside the galaxy, coming from Andromeda. It's got two pieces of direct continuity within TOS with the Great Barrier from where no man has gone before. Yeah. It's got a reference to Spock using the mind meld through the wall from A Taste of Armageddon. So there's some self-awareness that you don't typically see in TOS that I really, really like. The great DC Fontana teleplay. I think By Any Other Name is a underrated. I don't know if I'd call it upper echelon, like top tier TOS, but like rock solid B+, really, really strong episode that I don't know gets enough love. And I dig it. What do you guys think By Any Other Name?
It would have been my next pick.
Okay.
And it also has one of the most amazing red shirt deaths ever.
Yes.
And saddest.
Very sad. Very sad.
It's got a huge scope because they the beginning is like, hey, it's almost like a planet adventure, and then it turns into a shipbound thing. So
yeah,
it's great. It would have been my next pick, which would have skipped over one of the picks on my rank board, which I just cannot pick, but we'll get.
All right, let's do it. We're in the last round. This is our last pick each, round 6. What are you thinking, Jim?
Okay. As much as I don't know if one of you guys take it or not. I cannot pick Assignment Earth. I love Assignment Earth. I love it. There's not enough of our heroes, so there's no way I could have it just as one of my 6 episodes and then watch Gary 7 and Terry Garr for 60% of it. So, but I think it's an underrated episode, and I really like it a lot. So having said that, Any Other Name would have been my pick, but right next to it, and I'm just as happy to get it, is another classic trifecta episode, Kirk, Spock, Bones. It is the Immunity Syndrome. Shut up, Spock! We're rescuing you!
Love it. Another really good remastering effort, too, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of really cool ship shots, and seeing the ship in total darkness really reminds me of Night from Voyager. Retroactively, obviously, this is well after Night, the remastering version of it. But I love a lot of the imagery in it. I love the way it uses the trifecta, puts Kirk into a position where he needs to choose between his friends, who's going to go on this mission that they probably aren't going to come back from. Another classic bottle.
That's a great moment.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Kind of the flip to kind of a weird little maybe brother sister episode with the Tholian web, the way it looks at the trifecta, and what happens when you take Kirk out of the picture. Not able to make a decision like that, and you're just left with Spock and McCoy having to fight through a problem. So I've always been a big fan of the Immunity Syndrome. What do you think, Dan?
That's a great pick. There's some tough decisions that had to be made in that episode. Yeah, that was probably my next pick too, but yeah, great pick for sure.
Okay, what are you thinking for your last one? It's tough. This is always the toughest round. You got especially
this
when
is probably the toughest round. I don't know that.
Pull the trigger.
That definitely that last. I am thinking about that maybe. No, you know what? I will go episode 26, Assignment Earth.
Okay.
Yeah,
man.
I
respect this pick.
It's I have some issues with it, but I do really think that is a very underrated episode, especially when I came back to it later on. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of my picks where they're going in different time periods, different outfits. But yeah, I love seeing Kirk and Spock in a suit and a cute little hat. I like that. It's fun. But yeah, it's. I know I get the problems with. It's not a lot of stuff with our guys and gals, but I think it has some good stuff in it.
It's a great pick. It's this underrated episode. I love it. So much going on. Rhaegar is fantastic.
She is really good.
It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah,
it is. Gary Seven's a cool character, and I would have watched that show.
He is. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I think Assignment Earth is underrated, and I think people kind of discount it as it's just a backdoor pilot for a show that never happened, and I think people might label it as lazy and not like a real Star Trek episode. But I don't fall into that camp. I think it's certainly got its value.
Real quick though.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do really like about this episode is at the beginning, I think that it's so casual that I don't know if it's in the captain's log or something like that, but they're like, oh, we're just casually going back in time.
Yeah,
for this mission.
Like, we're going on a mission back in time.
Just another Tuesday, on the job, going back in time. It's just like, wait, back up. They just, that's one thing about this episode.
Exactly what happens.
Made me laugh a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bill, you're so right that some people dismiss it as kind of it's a backdoor pilot. It's not really Star Trek. It is.
It's got great stuff at the beginning.
Your pick.
My pick.
I have no idea what you're gonna do. I'm looking at the episodes.
I'm looking at the board. Yeah, it's just...
I have my prediction on one that I think, but this is fascinating.
Yeah, there are two that I could kind of equally go with here. And in fact, I might, like on my rankings, that there's one that I would probably rank over the other, but maybe it's recency bias. I more recently watched. I'm going to go with the one I more recently watched, which is 25, Bread and Circuses. I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
I was torn between Bread and Circuses and Obsession, which I probably prefer. All things are equal, but Bread and Circuses, I really love the Spock and McCoy interaction that we get there. It's a little more cutting. It's a little more cutting. I guess is the best word I can think of. I love McCoy psychoanalyzing Spock in the cell and getting exactly to the core of what Spock deals with every single day. The fear of slipping up and losing control and not having the dignity that he tries to hold every day. It's another one. I think we talked at the outset of this. We were toying with doing TOS season 3. and
Yeah.
ended up going with season 2. And one of the reasons I wanted to do season 2 as opposed to 3 is I felt like season 3 has a lot of episodes that kind of have the same DNA and have a lot of similarities. But the thing that I think season 2 has in its population of episodes that is kind of shared DNA is these parallel Earth kinds of stories. Going to planets that have some strain of Earth's past kind of filtering through them, and Bread and Circus is certainly one of those. And it might be one of the more far-fetched versions of it. But I love Captain Merrick. I like the guest stars in it. I like the another one with really cool location photography. I think of those opening shots of the landing party, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy beaming down and coming down the hill and having like this big wide open, vista of, openness. It just makes the planet feel that much bigger and more real. Kind of like Friday's Child when Dan picked it, I was saying. But most of all, when I think of Bread and Circuses, it's got some of my genuine favorite character stuff from TOS in it with Spock and McCoy. So if we're talking like Desert Island, if that's the approach here, what episodes would I want to take with me? I think there's enough real value in that stuff that makes me want to have that. So
I picked the McCoy Spock scene in my top 5 scenes in a brig.
Yes.
Because those interactions are amazing. So the top of my board, every pick except for Metamorphosis got picked. It's amazing. My bottom 9 were the bottom 8 picked. That is a great pick, Bill. I was definitely considering it, and I know we'll start talking about our list. As I look at my list, I probably should have taken it because I have like 6 really heavy ship-bound shows. I'm doing a Desert Island this. I probably would have liked to have one that kind of branches out a little bit, and Circuses probably would have been it. But yeah, that's an awesome pick.
Appreciate that. What do you think, Dan? You have memories of Bread and Circus? Anything you want to
just to kind of echo what you guys are saying. There's definitely some good character interactions in that. Some rescue stuff, and like I do really like the production design as well. There's like the rebels versus the man, I guess. It's fun too. Yeah, I love like the 1960s 70s set that they filmed the gladiator stuff. That's kind of fun to see too. So yeah, great pick. Especially when it's a.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's just tough looking at the board. Just you could go really any direction here. So it's tough.
Yeah, one of the more memorable things for Bread and Circuses for me is I distinctly remember like 8-year-old me watching it and realizing, whoa, the crowd noise is artificial. Like they have this machine that's turning up the boos and the hisses and the cheers. Like that's amazing stuff when you're young and watching it. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. There's not really an audience there. Really
me
cool
too. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we are. We each have our pool of 6 episodes, and we have 8 that did not go. And to kind of read them off really quick, we have Who Mourns for Adonais, The Apple, Cat's Paw, I Mud, The Deadly Years, Obsession, Wolf in the Fold, The Omega Glory are the unchosen, undrafted episodes. So before we get into our lists, kind of as a final thing, each of you guys, Jim, you first. What do you think the best episode that's left is, and what do you think of the pool of episodes that wasn't picked overall? Like, is there?
There was 5 that. To me, there was 5 that I 100% thought would be at the bottom. Although you said you were going to pick Obsession, that would have surprised me. It's just it's not a bad episode, but it's not very rewatchable, or I don't know, something about it. But the top, I think the best episode of these remaining is Who Mourns for Adonai.
Yeah.
I think my next pick would have been Apple, because I just like watching the Apple. It's pulpy. I actually considered taking it, but I was like, no, I already have Gangsters of Triceratops. I can't have that and the Apple. So I really like. I think the Apple's pretty.
If you're going on sheer rewatchability, I do think the Apple has some real value. I think the pulpiness, the classic Star Trek tropey red shirts on the landing party, watching them pick off one by one.
Yep.
Big landing party, big
set design.
The set design. It's such a quintessentially iconic episode of Star Trek. It's hard to argue against its rewatchability for sure. What about you, Dan? Any overall thoughts of what's left?
I want to make a case for Cat's Paw here.
Okay.
Because when I hit it, I didn't. What I really tried to, because I know the stigma that comes with this episode. So I tried to set that aside. I tried to set Twitter aside. I tried to set everyone's view and opinion aside when I hit it on my rewatch. And I really didn't see any problems until about kind of the middle of the episode. When they go down to like the castle, like the spooky place, that's when it just goes completely out the window, right? It just goes to ridiculousness town. So I really don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, Cat's Paw. It's ranked pretty low for me, but it's number 71. My Trek ranks. Metamorphosis is number 70.
Outrageous.
Okay, perfect.
Here's what I always say. My thing about Cat's Paw is I gained a massive appreciation for this, and everyone should check this out. Is the 5-Year Mission song, Cat's Paw. It made me think about a relationship between Korob and Sylvia in a way that I never had before, like this actual love story, and it's really, really, really into that song. It will change your perspective.
I'll have to go back and listen again. That's for sure. That's the second time this week. I think Return to Tomorrow's 5-Year Mission song got a shout out on Twitter. Just the other
so
day.
Good.
Just makes me realize that I need to dive back into 5-Year Mission, of course.
Trust me, Cat's Paw will make you think about Korob and Sylvia interact in a different way. It actually helps you. The song Cat's Paw.
Isn't Cat's Paw one of your friend Adam Drozen's favorite episodes, though? Isn't he a big defender of...
Yes, it is. It is. He will argue it's merit.
I would say that Cat's Paw is one of the better, if you're hanging out with some friends and having some drinks, watching Star Trek, Cat's Paw is probably not the worst option for an occasion like that.
Yeah, and I think if that would have Cat's Paw probably maybe would have been my next pick. But when I look at my run of episodes, like I've got a good, gamut of there's some comedy in there, but there are also some heavy hitters. There's some action stuff, but then there's you got to have at least one ridiculous episode in there to kind of balance everything out.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said when you do this and you have a group of episodes to balance that list out and try to. That's another approach you could certainly take, is try to mix and match the episode types and have different tones and styles and aiming points represented in your group.
Yep.
What would have been your pick, Bill?
Obsession for me. I like Obsession a lot more than you. I think that probably, when we went back, if we could go back in time and talk about an episode that we disagree with from TOS, I think Obsession might have been the more interesting conversation than the Gangsters of Triceratops. I get the sense that there's maybe a little bit more actual disagreement there. I like the Kirk backstory stuff. I love. I feel like it's one of the only times in TOS where we get to meet a young crewman that has a different career track. An outsider from the Enterprise, the basic core, Garavik, who's got his own past and history with Starfleet. I like that stuff. I like the I feel like that's world building that I like, with making Starfleet feel bigger and more real and more populated with different people with different histories, and how they all kind of intersect. I can sense you have something to say. That's why I'm anxious to.
Well, it's funny because I was just thinking in my head that I totally agree with that the Kirk backstory stuff and the framing of the story is pretty good. Issue was always the production. This doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's not portrayed very believably in kind of. And then I looked at my 5 words in a hashtag, and it literally says, "Fascinating Kirk backstory. Production falters."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the production for me is what makes me not love this episode. It's just like it's a cloud.
Yeah.
How are you capturing the cloud?
Yeah.
How are you letting it? I mean, it's just like every time they go to fight it, it's like, is the phaser gonna work? Kind of like cloud? I don't.
I do like the Captain Ahab quality that Kirk kind of portrays in this episode a little bit. I just think the execution of, like you said, Jim, the entity that they're trying to track down. It's just, I'm not really scared. It's not really believable. It's just tough for me to wrap my head around that aspect of it. And why would he be obsessed about this thing that doesn't? I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Part
but
doesn't all fit. But it's
yeah.
Kirk backstory and the world building there, the Farragut, is really good.
Yeah.
That's what draws me to it. The thing that I have the biggest issue with it, if I was going to knock it down, the reason it didn't get picked, like it wasn't one of my 6, is I feel like the convenience of Derevik. Once he throws like a tray or something at his bed and it hits a switch that opens the vent, and the convenience of a switch right above the bed that is conveniently going to open a vent that's going to let this thing in is always kind of pulls me out of it whenever I watch it. But I do really like it. I really get something out of the backstory and the Starfleet minutia stuff in it.
Isn't there's some fun stuff too though, like this eager red shirt wants to prove himself, or
I like that.
That's good.
I like the
yeah.
I feel like that makes Starfleet feel more populated with real people.
Lived in.
So really interesting. What is your what's your overall takeaway from your list, Jim? Your group of 6. You kind of mentioned you got a lot of model show kind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm really happy with my list. I do think I ended up a little bit in literally 5 of my 6 picks: Doomsday Machine, Journey to Babel, Ultimate Computer, The Changeling, Immunity Syndrome are all just on the ship. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's not one scene on any of those episodes off the ship sets. So that's probably a little too heavy. I should have tried to get something on the a little planet bound, like my Patterns of Force choice that I was thinking. But
Gamester spends a lot of time off the ship.
So.
Yeah, of course. The Gamesters makes up for that. 5 out of 6. So that I'm really happy with my list. But if I'm being honest, as I look at the list, and I will tweet this out, I think Dan's got the best episode. He's got the best team here.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's just a good variety of everything, really. Like there's like, just looking at my list here, there's some good comedy stuff, like I said, but there's also some good there are some ship stuff, but there's also some great getting off the ship, going back in time, going to away missions and stuff like that. I think and it's got Vasquez Rock, it's got everything. I would have to agree that I probably have the best list.
I mean, it's pretty. You only have one like really heavy shipbound episode, Trouble with Tribbles, and then you got 2 really good comedies. You got 2 classic kind of otherworldly Patterns of Force and Private Little War. Friday's Child, I think, is a great trifecta episode, and Assignment Earth is just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. I think Dan definitely has the most diverse list in terms of the tones and the different kinds of episodes. I love that he's got the 2 classic comedies from this season in particular, and probably from TOS in general. I think on his list. For my list, I feel like I went pretty straightforward with what my gut check favorites. Time, Mirror, being the 2 that I wasn't going to walk away from. But I feel like I have some episodes that maybe are unique to me. I feel like I'm higher on Return to Tomorrow and Metamorphosis, Scott Mantz aside, even Bread and Circuses by any other name, than maybe like the average fan might be. I feel like I have some personal choices that are kind of special to me for this reason or that. So I feel I tend to, when I do these kinds of things, I'm guilty of maybe going to the consensus choices and the kind of easy predictable. Like I think I did. I forget what I tweeted the other day. I think it was at you, Jim. I quoted something you did with your favorite episodes, and I said these are predictable and kind of a lame list because they're the standard issue Set the Sun episodes. But I feel proud of myself that I picked some that I don't think.
Yeah, you're
others
growing,
would,
Bill. You're growing.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm going away from just picking the standard easy ones.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of that. I picked some that I didn't necessarily expect that I'd end up with. That's kind of where I stand. Any other closing thoughts, Jim? First, any final takeaways?
Oh, I'm just impressed that my board, the top is that we had 18 picks. So yeah, the top 17 picks on my board all went off. So I had the bottom pretty much nailed in this Metamorphosis. But listen, these are the top two on each of these. I have Doomsday Machine and Journey to Babel. Dan has Amok Time and Mirror Mirror. Bill has Amok Time and Mirror Mirror, and Dan has Trouble with Tribbles and A Piece of the Action.
Yeah, you can argue with that.
Yeah, I mean those top two each is like I'd trade with any of those at any moment in time. All classics.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Great.
And typical of these drafts so far, I think it held true to the form of those first two rounds are exactly what you just said, Jim. You get the classics off the board, and you're dealing with episodes that I think you can kind of interchange with people, and everybody would pretty much be happy in most cases. And then once you get into that third round, fourth round, it gets really interesting. With it gets less predictable, and you have a bigger pool of episodes that are kind of your mileage may vary depending on, like I said, who you're dealing with, who you're talking to, and the gamesmanship of what for me personally, like what's Jim going to do, what's Dan going to do, kind of does start to factor in a little bit more with making these choices.
Yep.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think?
I will say that. Sorry.
Just
go ahead.
Overall final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Just doing this kind of makes me appreciate the consistency of season 2. I know that people often quote season 1 as having more quote unquote classics, but I really like season 2, and it really just this paints the picture that this is such a consistent season, and that I love TOS. So
for sure, I'm curious. I don't think I've ever asked you, Jim, where you fall in the season 1, season 2 debate. Like for me personally, I tend to agree that I probably prefer season 1, and I think there probably are more episodes there that I love, like more unequivocally. But I think season 2 has maybe a more widespread variety. You look at, like, we didn't pick I Mud, but there's 3 like straight up comedies in this pool of episodes. Trouble with Tribbles, Piece of the Action, I Mud. You have a real mix of different varieties here, and I think season 1 might be a little bit more consistent tonally. Where do you fall in the season 1, season 2?
I think that's probably true across the board. I mean, season 1's still better for me. It's still it could be the best season of Star Trek ever. It's right there for me.
Me too. Yeah.
Season 2, I mean, listen, I have 5 in the top 5 season 2 episodes in the top 11, and 3 in the top 6. So it's right there. It is more probably consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Really than season 1, maybe.
Yeah.
In terms of like solid, I think solid.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think that's probably true. One of the things we talked about, like I said at some point along the way in the past few minutes, we talked about doing season 3 of TOS, and I'm really eager to do that.
Yeah.
That's such a different different story than what we just talked about with consistency and the sort of breadth of really great stuff in seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 certainly has its gems, but I think we would even more quickly get into that pool of episodes that your mileage may vary kinds of choices with season 3. It would be a little bit of a different story. So that's going to happen at some point.
Wait to watch it.
We're looking forward to doing it for sure. So that's pretty much going to do it. I think we're going to start wrapping this up. We'll certainly post the results of this on Twitter, and I typically will put a poll out and ask people to weigh in on whose roster of episodes is the strongest in their opinion. So we'll definitely be doing that, and we'll see what people think. Whose set of episodes would make for the better Sunday afternoon marathon of TOS season 2 episodes.
I get all my thralls to vote for.
All your thralls.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens with that and to see what people think. But I can't thank you enough, Jim, for joining us and taking part in this. We love the fantasy draft concept. We love it as a really good reason to bring different people on. It really adds to the. If it was just me and Dan doing it, it would be a lot more predictable. So we definitely need that extra voice. And who better than you to come weigh in with your.
Thanks for having me on, and keep doing them because I love watching them.
We certainly will.
Keep coming.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just mention next week is Star Trek Writers Room, Trek Live Writers Room. We're putting our writers caps on, so definitely prepare for that.
So we just to fill you in, Jim, real quick. We've done one of these. We kind of talk about coming up with episode concepts and what we'd like to see done in these old shows. So we'll be doing that next week. Can't wait to do that, and we'll certainly be doubling back to this fantasy draft idea in the near future. And real quick, Jim, while you're here, how can people find you? If, by some miracle,
you can find me on.
Somebody's watching this and doesn't know you. Where would they find you?
On Twitter at Enterprise Extra or at Trek Ranks. And Trek Ranks Podcast. It's a podcast about all the reasons we love Star Trek. Nothing else.
Yep.
Top tier Star Trek content right there. Everybody should be listening to Trek Ranks. It is the best of the best.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Just the truth. So one last time, thank you very much, Jim. Thanks as always, Dan, for hanging out with me doing this. And we will be back next week with more Trek live conversation about Star Trek. You'll find us here on Twitter and Periscope Sundays at 10 a.m. Typically, and then on YouTube with a recording a few days after. And can't wait to be back. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate.
Long and prosper.
Yep. See you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching.